So, in the last video, I was talking about how you can turn an idea that you have in your head. It can be a business idea, a movie idea, an app idea. In my case, it was an app idea, into a personal story that not other people actually, that you can visualize and relate to on a subjective or personal level. Let me show you what that story looks like. So, if for those of you who have not watched the previous video, so instead of like going into the technical details like the user flow and all of that in the first go, what or giving the problem statement at a very abstract level, look at how this is. Okay, this is humanizing the whole sort of experience that I'm wanting to develop. So it's actually creating a character called Emma. What is the previous state? What is the transformation? It's going through what are the technical even specifications. Like for instance, there's this tool, how it's going to work roughly. I've given it a whole skeleton here, and what I've done here is look, I've told it, look, I have a story for the app idea that I have. I would like to first show you what I have, right? I'm going to set the context right. What I'm going to do in this video today is with all of this thing that we have so far, I'm going to turn this into a product that I can share with the rest of the world. Now, before you go ahead and imagine, oh, this video is probably gonna show me how to create the app out of GPT itself, or this movie, or this whatever, like comic book out of this GPT itself, then let me actually tell you, at this point in time, you cannot use GPT to do the entire process. Instead, what GPT is going to give you is the whole thinking stuff, right? So, for instance, it's going to give you the movie script, okay? It's going to give you the app code maybe to some extent, but I don't really rely on the app code for that instance at this moment in time. Maybe that's going to be possible in the very near future. To some extent it is possible now, but I don't think you can completely rely on developing an entire project out of it. Movies, you cannot really develop like full-fledged movies. You can, like I said, scripts, maybe written stuff to a great extent you can do. Like, for example, if you're writing a blog or something, it's going to do that. But then again, even if you're doing something like a blog, you still have to copy and paste it and format all the, the fonts and appearances and all of that. You have to do that manually. So you just have to take this from GPT and put it to another tool that actually can visualize all of this. We're not talking about the latter part, which is implementing whatever GPT does. But GPT is going to do the heavy lifting of, telling you what are the pages, what are the frames, maybe even give you the storyline of the stuff. Because GPT at this point in time, as of now, right now, as we're talking, is heavily text-based, okay? So, I mean, it can generate images, but the images are, again, not really like, you can turn that into a movie because they don't have consistent characters. There are certainly techniques that one can use to design sort of consistent characters, but like it's just not out there yet, okay? You cannot develop an entire product out of GPT. Will that be possible in the future? Very certain. I don't say very certainly, but I think it's quite possible. Not in the distant future, but I think very soon I think that it will be possible. Like GPT, which is what I'm using, I think will turn into an entire platform, which means that other developers will be making their own sort of applications within GPT, so you can make posters, websites, all that within GPT. As of right now, that's what we're looking for. We're looking to develop a product here. Now, we have a story. Let's turn this into a product. So let's go into implementation. Okay. Now, the first thing you want to do is you want to tell GPT, and you want to understand, or you want to ask GPT to tell. Let's first settle what would the success metrics be if I were to bring this project into reality. Now, remember, in the story, you need to have your goals, you need to have, the transformation, all of that sort of perfectly encapsulated in that story. If you're not happy with that story, go take that story and refine the story. So now we have some data here that's given to me about the success metrics, and usually this is very cliche. I say it's cliche because this is the kind of things that most people would imagine, right? When I say success metrics. Now we're going to turn this into really specific, okay? I want you to look into my story. Reflect as an entrepreneur, and if your case, you can say a movie maker or whatever that is, and tell me the single most important success metric, because these are just too many. I need to have definitive success metric, and I need that to I need it to be in the simplest form possible. Give me no longer than 3 points and one success goal. So what I'm doing, something like that. And now this is pretty important to get it right. Okay, we're gonna prompt it and let's just do it. Okay, so absolutely focusing on a single success metric and streamline your efforts. Okay, all right. So it's saying that user retention rate is pretty important, which is not true. Okay, so my thing is, for me, the most important success is users. Sorry, is for customers to own their farm, own their farm in the most personalized way possible. And own it with as little effort or pain as possible. To me, these are secondary metrics. I want you to know why I'm becoming a little bit philosophical here. It's because this is the thing, right? Like, okay, so look at this. So personality is user reflection. Okay, it's going to turn my philosophy into what is this technical concepts. Okay, so what are the things that I need to look into targeted user? So what are things I need to do now before it goes ahead and generates anything? It's going to remember all of this stuff because GPT now remembers stuff. Okay, it's not perfect, but I think to a great extent it's quite good now, better now. Okay, I don't understand. Okay, I need this to be simplified. Because I want it in this format. Facebook success metrics is based on the quality and quantity. Quality of connections people build here, something like that. Okay. And I think it helps to. Okay, so it says here we're in a. Right, so there you go. So this is the thing, right? So achieving a customer satisfaction score of 4.5. So this is the kind of thing that I'm looking for, the goal. All right. Now, from this tell me the success metrics, only the ones I need for now, in no less than 3 bullet points. Okay, I want this to be concrete enough. Okay, all right, so this is not exactly 3 bullet points, but okay, customer satisfaction score, user retention score, and onboarding completion rate. Okay, so this is what we have, right? These are the things that we need to focus on getting right. Now let's get to the building stuff. Okay, so in order for you to build an app, or you want to go to becoming a movie director or whatever that is, you can ask GPT on how the whole process works, but I don't recommend doing that. The first thing I always recommend you to do is to actually get a macro understanding of the whole space or the industry, whatever it is that you're trying to build. For instance, if you're trying to do produce a movie or something like that, try to understand the basics of video editing. Okay, try to understand how a movie is put together. That knowledge is pretty important for you to ask the right questions. Because if I told you the best that GPT can give you is a script, you might be like, oh, this is not something I can share with the rest of the world. But for a movie director, that's going to be a huge time saver, right? And that's what we're trying to do here. So what I'm going to do, okay, so now become my app developer. Now, or you can say app manager, product manager, whatever that is, but I want him to be directly my app developer. Help me plan my user flow and user stories. So this is essentially the process of, so what is user flow? User flow is essentially, it essentially talks about how the interactions work. So for instance, to do this particular task, then they have to go through all of these steps, and what happens if something fails, right? So where do they go? So the flow of the whole app. And I want to do that, and also maybe do the sitemaps after that. So these are all the 3 things that I think it can go ahead and do. Maybe one thing that can be useful to do is personas. Essentially, that creates a persona of your customer, and then you can go ahead and build it. So look, so it's now starting to build a whole login page, sign up page, all of that. So look, it's trying to talk about how to do the app launch. So okay, onboarding to the farm management. This is how it's going to work. Dashboard, that's going to be the first step. Then select a purchase slot, set up a farm. It says manage farm, harvest and delivery, alerts when crops are ready, communication. Look, all this is ready. All right, so user stories. So these are all the requirements I need to have. Now, if it was a movie, how would you actually do this? So what I would do is I would first say define the characters, define the environments, and then you would get the elementary pieces down before you go ahead and produce the actual stuff. Now let's go ahead and say, okay, now produce the copy for, okay, I think you should also have the sitemaps ready now for each of these pages. Copy our content for each of these pages. Okay, so now what we have, it will have the copy, the content, the textual content, the image description for each one of those pages. Now look, so this takes the welcome screen and it defines what goes into every one of those screens. Now you can actually do the content inventory, wireframings, and all of that. But look, this is greatly helpful, but you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn each one of these screens into actually instructions, prompts, like AI prompts that I can put into Figma, which is the software we use to design all of the apps and software. I've been using that for quite some time, and I can design each one of those screens without actually designing buttons and all of those individual elements. And it's going to allow me to transition from an idea that I have in my head to a bunch of screens without actually having to do all the stuff like the technical stuff, right? So let the whole GPT think first. Now that it's done, what you need to do is you need to take all of this data here and not start designing. Rather, I'm going to teach you guys how to do this, convert this into a product in sort of, let's say, different formats. Imagine if I were to tell this as a movie. Well, it won't work for this idea or this story because it has a success metric and all of that. That cannot be emulated with a movie. For movies, you need to actually begin with that story, and I think it would just be unauthentic. It would just be too cliche, just too trashy if I were to turn this into a movie. So let me actually turn this thing into an app in the next sort of video, and then I'll talk about how I can turn or sort of create sort of videos as well in the same kind of fashion. Now, I want to end this video on just one thing that actually matters more than one thing that you need to learn in order to do this by yourself. What I did in the previous video and in this video is I just gave it prompts. All right. The only thing is about how you ask questions, right? Now, how do you ask really good questions and build that model? Well, you actually have to learn how to think about stuff at a very ground level or a very critical level. And how to do things at a critical level? Well, unless and until the system, in this case GPT, if GPT is not giving you good quality, sort of outputs, is because you have not given it enough sort of room to actually learn from. So the more data you give it, the quality of the output will be better. Now, something else that you can be enhancing also is the style of the text or the things that come out. You can also teach it styles that it needs to sort of produce, and that's something that you can do as you keep prompting. Now, remember, you have to prompt one at a time. Don't prompt all of it, in like a single message. Just don't do that. Essentially, the way I do is I just turn on this audio thing here, and then what I do is I go full, like I take my phone, I go to my garden and just to start speaking with it, okay? And I don't use like the conversation mode, like that, the thing that talks back to me. I like to actually use this mode, which essentially just converts the thing into text. That way I can just go just go talk directly like from my mind to the machine, right? So that's the thing. The more context you have, not just the GPT, but even if you have, because GPT takes the context of your mind. So first, the thing that matters is your mind, right? Are you honest enough with yourself to ask the right questions? And I know I'm getting a bit too philosophical here, but that's really the skill that you need to have, is to ask the questions. And to ask really high quality questions, you really need to be true to yourself. And that's the key to getting really good answers. This version of GPT is able to only produce so much. Now, at the time of you watching this video, probably, GPT is able to like sort of design screens as well. But in the next video, I'll be talking about how to translate this into sort of actual apps or designs that I can then go ahead and prototype with the rest of the people. But you right now, if you're doing a movie, you should probably have the whole, like, the actual script that you can go ahead and implement. You just have to learn the technical skills, but a lot of tools these days have AI built into them, so you can just turn this into prompts, and I can give that into the tool and get that in design the entire screens. We'll talk more about that in the next video. Until then, I shall see you.